to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. First and foremost, yes, still, Happy Pride! Yes, I'm going to keep singing Happy Pride because it's Pride Month. Not Pride Week, not Pride Day. It's Happy Pride Month. Second of all, it would only make sense that someone such as myself was born in Pride Month. Yes, my birthday is tomorrow, 54. This is what 54 will look like. 53 and 364 days right now, but 54. I am going to be knocking on wood, thinking that I still have all of my teeth. I still have all of my original parts. And I'm so grateful to the heavens that I am still here and functioning and in better health than I was, say, 20 years ago. So y'all drop a line and wish me happy birthday. I love the love. My love language are words of affirmation. I just need y'all to know that. So while I'm starting off on a good mood right now, I'm going to talk about Bloomington again. And yes, it's for a good reason. I know y'all be like, dang, Dana, you be hitting up Bloomington all the time. Because sometimes I scratch my head how the liberal town does things. But they did a solid for the community last night. WTHR reports Bloomington's City Council passed a resolution Wednesday night that advocates say shows the city's support for the transgender community. The move comes more than a year after the state passed a law banning gender-affirming health care for transgender youth. The resolution calls for designating Bloomington as a safe haven for gender-affirming health care. The resolution passed unanimously. The vote was greeted by cheers from supporters. Under the resolution, the city would ensure that laws or regulations punishing people for seeking or providing gender-affirming care would not be prioritized by city officials. So what does the resolution really do? City officials say it does not supersede the law passed by state lawmakers last year. That means the ban on transgender-affirming health care for transgender youth still exists. One counselor told 13 News the resolution is really a ceremonial gesture, a show of support to the transgender community and their families. Listen, guys, I know this one, like the ceasefire resolution, are symbolic. But this one is actually a positive thing in that they are saying those of you who live in Indiana who are fearful of your existence in other parts of Indiana, come to Bloomington. That's just like many of the cities have passed resolutions making Pride Month an official thing in their communities. Hamilton County and Carmel in Hamilton County has done such a thing in a very, very red county, right? Not so red no more, though. But what this means is that, when you move into certain communities, you can be safe to be yourself. And that's what Pride is all about. It's about being safe. It's about being in your community and being loved for who you are. So kudos, shout out, cheers to Bloomington for passing this resolution. I tip my hat to you. I applaud you. This is a wonderful, wonderful thing. All right. This one, y'all, it's not necessarily policy driven, but it is. So I need y'all to check this one out because this one is going to hit your pocketbooks. The Times Mail reports Duke Energy is seeking regulatory permission to increase fees to electricity customers in Indiana, and Hoosier residents and businesses have until July 5th to submit comments before the Indiana Regulatory Commission, the IURC, makes a decision. Now listen to this, y'all. The request would raise electric rates by 19% in a two-step process, with rates increasing in March of 2025 and again in January of 2026. The increase would raise the flat connection charge for residential customers from $10.54 to $13.70 each month, according to the IURC. It would also increase the electricity consumption portion of the consumer's bill. Duke Energy is the largest electric utility company in Indiana, serving more than 900,000 customers in 69 counties from near Fort Wayne south to Ohio River. The proposed rate increase would be different for businesses and residential customers. The CAC's Olson said a large portion of what Duke Energy customers would be paying for with the increase is depreciation for the company's coal-fired power plants. They would be paying for something that's not serving customers. I need y'all to check that. The Sierra Club is opposing the rate increase mainly because Duke Energy is overinvesting in its coal plant infrastructure, said Robin Boss, director of the Sierra Club Hoosier chapter. Duke's Gibson power plant is one of the nation's 22 super polluter power plants and has a negative impact on people's health. The Gibson power plant is the largest carbon dioxide producing plant in Indiana and was listed as the 19th in the U.S. in 2023. The case itself will lead to more coal being burned through the rest of the decade. Two of our state lawmakers are opposing it, Representative Mac Pierce and, of course, Shelley Yoder, both out of Bloomington. And they said, I am deeply troubled by these proposed rate hikes that would increase consumer electric bills by almost 33%, or about $42.07 a month for the average consumer, said Yoder. At a time when Hoosier families are reeling from unstable gasoline prices, continued inflation driving the groceries and rent costs, along with a statewide child care provider shortage, it's unconscionable to me that Duke would suggest such a rate increase. Okay, guys, this is the important part. The Indiana Office of Utility Consumer Counselors are accepting comments about Duke's request to raise rates through July 5th. Public comment will be accepted in person during the IURC field hearing at 6 p.m. on June 20th in Bloomington. The meeting will be at the Monroe Convention Center, Alcott Young Room 302 South College. Guys, I have been talking about super polluters for as long as I've been talking to y'all. I've been talking about the fact that there was a study that was sent out that said if you have asthma or any type of respiratory issues, move out of Indiana, because all you're going to do is hurt yourself. You're not going to improve your quality of life by living here with this. There are 22 super polluters in the whole country. Now you think, okay, 22 and there's 50 states. That's not so bad. Maybe it's just one per state. No, Indiana has 4 super polluters all circling Evansville. I need y'all to understand, like, we keep talking about the brain drain. We keep talking about policies where we're attacking people for how they love or how they identify. But this is attacking every Hoosier with bad air quality. And they want to raise your rates so you can't breathe. I need you to understand that. Duke Energy wants to raise your rates so you can choke more, have more asthma attacks, so that you can have more allergy problems. They want you to pay for yourself to be sick. Guys, get down to Bloomington on June 20th. Let your voices be heard so that they know that, listen, raising our rates to take care of coal plants that should be shut down. I mean, my God, we have figured out we can drive autonomous cars as Uber. Surely we can figure out how to get some more energy from other places. I know we can do it. We're smart people. Stop burning coal. All right, one more. This is some good news. Do y'all remember the superintendent of Hamilton Southeastern and how poorly they treated her up in Hamilton County? Well, I got some good news for y'all. Yvonne Stokes is the new leader of the Gary Community Schools, the district schools board announced last week. Stokes will be Gary's first board-appointed superintendent since the state took over the district in 2017 because it was insolvent with a $22 million operating deficit and more than $100 million in long-term debt. She previously led Hamilton Southeastern and was assistant superintendent in Munster schools. In a statement, Stokes said she recognizes that the Gary Community and School Board are committed to eliminating inequities that negatively impact students. These efforts resonate with me because I am passionate about breaking down barriers and creating access and opportunity for all of our students to be successful. Therefore, in the spirit of continuous improvement, I am grateful for the opportunity to support the empowerment of all our students so they can thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. Stokes will face multiple challenges leading the district, including a years-long enrollment decline that slowed in the past year. Listen, the state took over Gary, and it was a horrible thing. Now they're getting it back, and Hamilton Southeastern treated Ms. Stokes horribly. Now she has an opportunity to work with people who want her, and most of those students look like her. African-American students, and she will have the opportunity to encourage and be an influence and encourage these young people to live their best lives and live out their dreams without them being trampled by the supermajority in the state house, which is what they were trying to do. You know what I'm saying? They keep defunding public education on a regular basis. Hopefully she can bring, a lot of quality back. And I know with her leading the school system and Mayor Eddie Melton leading the city, Gary can be on the comeback. So I'm rooting for you all up in Lake County. I am rooting for you and Gary. Let me know how I can help. I'm here for it. And let's continue to push and let people know that Gary is on the way back. All right, that's my rant for tonight. Now let's hear from my sponsor, Bohm's Unique Boutique. Today's show is brought to you by Bohm's Unique Boutique. Click on the QR code. And for all Turn Left listeners, you can get a 10% discount on your order by using the code Democrat. Be sure to visit www.bohmsuniqueboutique.com. Democrats, are you looking for an affordable digital content creation solution? Then look no further than Black Pearl IT Solutions and Black Pearl Studios. Indiana's own Dana Black is providing many of the communication wraparound services any Democratic organization needs. No matter the size of the budget, Indiana's own and Black Pearl Studios have you covered. Just scan the QR code or visit www.blackpearl-its.com. The most exciting time of the night. Yes, I get to talk to my candidates. This is actually a landmark show, guys. We're actually live streaming on YouTube and on Facebook. So we are doing a multicast tonight. So let me introduce you to my guests. First up, running in House District 66, all the way from Clark County. Y'all give it up for Jennifer David. Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you for having me.
I love it. And my next door neighbor over in Hendricks County, running for Hendricks County Council at large, Joe Walsh. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my God. So I checked the audio. We're good. Hey, you know what, guys, I was ranting about a lot a little earlier today. Was there anything in my rant that you wanted to comment on?
For me, I think what really got me was down in Bloomington. They're always doing something amazing down there. And for the gender affirming care that they pass, I know it's symbolic, but that means a lot to a lot of people. I mean, here in Hendricks County, we have Hendricks County Pride, and they're always having a bigger picnic every single year. It's continuously growing to the hundreds now when people show up. And it's a great event to be a part of. And every year for several years now, we've had both the Avon and Brownsburg Town Councils. They have sit there and made it a Pride Proclamation along with Juneteenth. Well, this is the first year they decided neither one wants to have a Pride Proclamation. And now I know Brownsburg is having a Juneteenth still, but that tells me that it's all political. I mean, why else would you in the general election year not do that when you've done it every single year since then? And so to see a community that's still willing to do that, that's willing to step up and support, members of their community, which right now, let's be honest, if you look at all the legislation going through, especially the state of Indiana, if you don't feel involved in your community, that really does increase, a lot how anxiety, dark thoughts and a
Yeah.
lot of things for people. So, I really applaud them for doing that.
Absolutely. Jennifer, was there anything in my rant that you wanted to comment on?
Well, let me touch base first on what Joe said. So I used to live in the Indianapolis area and would go to Pride down there in downtown Indy. But now that I live in Clark County and I've been here for about 7 years, this year was my first time that I was able to set up a booth in Southern Indiana. They have a nice Pride get together, which we had at the beginning of the month. And so I was able to set up as a candidate, and it was really great to set up that way because I just was able to really talk with a lot of people and really see the people that were there. And I was really taken back and really impressed by the number of allies that were there for LGBTQ plus community. There was parents and grandparents and church members and pastors and friends and just people of all different ages. And it was just really a wonderful event. So I'm glad that my community in Clark County, and this took place in Jeffersonville, which is not in my district, but it's part of the county that is, half of that is in my district. Gerrymandering, right? That's
Right.
Well, that was never in my district, but still, it kind of chopped up some things. But anyways, I am happy that that continues here in Southern Indiana. And I really want to applaud all the Democrats that continue to support the LGBT community openly as they're running as candidates, because I feel like Joe kind of touched on this, either this interview or the last one, but not everybody's doing that. It is political, but we are the party of the people, and we should be advocating for all Hoosiers.
I love that. And the last time we chatted, Jennifer, you had a passionate comment about Duke Energy. Did you want to touch on that before we jump into the good stuff?
Yes. So, one of the things that, again, you were talking about was Duke Energy and just this humongous rate increase. I'm not 100% sure on the dollar amount, but I think it's up to like $38, $40. I mean,
Yes.
it's a considerable amount of money for families, and especially for families that are on fixed income, Social Security, disability, things like that. I just think it's absurd that they're asking for this at this point in time, even though it looks like it would be an incremental increase taking effect in 25 and 26. But, here in 24, people are struggling. Families are struggling. Property tax, that's not set by the federal government. Here in Indiana, it's high, and people they've gotten their new tax rates for their homes and have seen them go up considerably, and people are losing their homes.
Absolutely.
So I think that Duke is definitely doing the wrong thing. They're doing a disservice to our family, all of our families. And I think that you did mention that there are some listening sessions that are going to be happening throughout July.
Yep. And June 20th in Bloomington.
Yes. And then I think there is one that's going to be happening in New Albany as well. I don't have the date. I think if it hasn't already taken place, I think might be the third week or the last week in June, but hopefully you can share that information, because I really encourage people, they need to come out and you need to talk about how this would be a burden on your family and how it's completely unfair that they are charging us for the coal, right?
Yes.
Some of this has to do with the coal that they're burning and, destroying our environment and affecting our health. So it's a double, triple whammy there.
Absolutely. I mean, I still am having a hard time thinking that people are going to have to pay more money to get sick. It just doesn't make sense. All right, Joe, we'll start with you. Tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Well, my name is Joe Walsh. I live in wonderful Hendricks County. We moved here about 9 years ago. My wife Shannon and I, we have 4 wonderful kids, and I retired from the Army, and we decided to come back to Indiana, which is where we're from. We originally settled in Brownsburg, and just a year ago yesterday, we resettled here in Avon to our home. We have 4 kids.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We needed a bigger boat.
You did it with the interest rates high. Come on, bro.
It's all right. There's certain things, I was able to find a good bank that gave me a comparable rate, and my realtor always told me you love your house, you date your mortgage, right?
Okay.
And so you date that rate. So that's what I was looking at. But we got this house. We love being here right down the road from Robert Pope, who's running he was on your show last week. So it's a great community to be a part of. When I first moved back to Indiana, I was, sad to say, I was a Republican. Well, I thought I was a Republican anyway. But I got here and the people that I was working with and I was supervising over, I don't know how they were making ends meet. It was really amazing when you start looking at it. Just these people would constantly vote Republican, but they're voting against all their best interests.
Mm-hmm.
Also seeing, I have kids with disabilities and just the struggles that families, I feel I'm doing pretty well. I'm a white male veteran. I'm not struggling. But even for me, it was still a struggle to get a lot of the services and stuff that we needed, even with insurance. And so it really, sitting there and talking to my wonderful wife, who's, a therapist, not just in heart, but in practice. And so, she convinced me that I really was never a Republican. I don't think I really deep down inside, I cared about people. But when I saw the real world, it convinced me that it was time to change over. And so, I'm running for county council this year here in Hendricks County. I ran 4 years ago for county commissioner. Things have changed in the 4 years, so I don't want a full-time job. Look for something part-time, still be a part of the community. But I take great pride in 4 years ago, there was only 2 Democrats in all of Hendricks County that broke the 30,000 vote mark, and it's Joe Biden and me. He beat me by 2,000, so I'll give him the win. But for a local Democrat, I'll take that that little badge of courage that outside of JB, I am the top winning thing, even though I got my pants smoked off of me in the election, but that doesn't matter. I take my badge of courage and drive on with it.
So, you know what? When I ran in 2016, I got the brakes beat off of me as well, and I haven't ran again. What gave you the courage to run for office again when, and to show back up and say, I'm going to keep trying?
It's one of those things. At first, I wasn't going to. I'm going to be honest. But, I've been serving for the past 3 years as the secretary of the county party. And I remember 2 years ago, right there when that cutoff was, where you had all of these, you could fill the ballot. If you didn't get into the primary, you could either have the caucus or you could have the county party chair assign people. I think it was like the day after that was shut off, magically they put through the abortion ban. Because they knew, and then they bragged, no one cared because no one ran. Yeah, no one knew you were going to actually do it the way you did it. You played a shady game and you did it the whole way. And what got me in that election, we had very low voter turnout. For Hendricks County, it was extremely low for us. And I'm on the candidate committee. And the only answer we came to is we had no one to drive the ticket. Okay. It wasn't a general election year. There wasn't anything major that would drive people like a Senate or anything, or governor. And so we had no House races that were being competitive, and people just didn't care. And so that tells me, we need to fill the ballot. And I'm a firm believer, even in these farther, even down, where Jennifer's at. I believe if we can get primaries for Democrats, it motivates people. It wants the base to get out there and vote. And so at the very minimum, you got to fill the ballot. And at the maximum, try to have competitive primaries. So I put my money where my mouth is. I know I'm going to run this year and at large. So it's a lot more people are going to try to vote this year. But I'm hoping that momentum will, if I don't win this year, will push me in 2 years when I go for the same office, but in District 1, and it's only here in a little bit bluer Avon area. So that's what motivates me.
I love it. This year I have interviewed more former Republicans than at any time in the history of this show. And our gubernatorial candidate, who's on the ballot, was a former Republican. She was the last, elected school superintendent who was on the Republican ticket. She switched parties. A lot of us on the D side, we be skeptical sometimes because we like, what y'all over here trying to do? Like, you trying to fool us? Or, do you think we're so desperate that we'll just take anybody? But then after seeing and listening to, the vision of the Republicans that are now Democrats, I'm inclined to believe that they are Democrats. But tell us, help us understand, what makes what makes that change, and how, and instill in us the trust that we need as Democrats to know that you are really going to be fighting for the people.
I can speak for myself, and what I'll say is this: is that even when I was a Republican, I didn't fit with Republicans. I've always been a socially liberal person. I mean, I remember I was talking to my cousin, and he was excited, and I wasn't. He goes, "We got the courts." He goes, "Aren't you happy about that we can go after Roe?" And I was like, "No, I never wanted that. I've never believed in that. I've never believed in telling people who they could love and who they can marry or what you can do in your bedroom. I don't care about that." Right. I looked at it more, when I was in the military, I always saw a lot of waste. And that's what kind of drove me. I didn't want to spend a lot of money when we didn't have to. I'm kind of cheap. But,
Democrats are cheap too.
They can be. But when I got out, I had that safety net of the military, and that's just what it really was. And when I got into this real world, and I saw people really struggling, and I saw that, there's a lot of things government can do to help people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of good things. You can look at the post office. People look at look how messed up it is. Well, yeah, because the government's they're not supporting them like they should.
Right.
They're making it easier for everybody else, right? So you want the government to come in and try to help where they can. For me, I sum it up as, Republicans always say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. While the Democrats are the ones that are willing to give you the bootstraps to do that and to give you the supports. So that way, it's everyone has an opportunity to succeed. Instead of you got lucky and you're born with a dad that gave you $1 million loan. Instead of that, you have this ability to grow and to thrive, and that's why I think ultimately I always was a Democrat. I was just probably a little cheap.
And you know what? I ain't mad at you. I'm cheap too. But you know what? I'm cheap. I'm not cheap on the things I really want. If you come to my studio, you'd be like, "Nah, you ain't been cheap in there." We know where your disposable income goes. Jennifer, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
That's a loaded question. As a woman, I just feel like I have so many different roles and I wear so many different hats, but I will try to kind of narrow my current life down. Unlike Joe here, I've always been a Democrat, even before I knew what a Democrat was. And I was raised by pretty conservative Christian parents. But honestly, a lot of me being a Democrat came in from the books that I read when I was younger and movies I watched. Like Annie was one of my favorite movies as a child and dealt with a lot of social situations, and FDR was in that movie, and just a lot of classic books that I read. So I've always had a heart for people. But I'm also a mother. The most important role that I play, that I've messed up a couple times, I think, as every parent has. My children are all adults now, so I have 4 of my own children. I have 3 daughters and 1 son, and then I also have 2 stepsons as well, with my husband Julio, who happens to be Hispanic. And I think that's important because that is also part of my passion, is all of our Black and brown Hoosiers, that we need to make sure that they're being taken care of and supported and felt loved. So that role. I also have 8 grandchildren. My husband and I love that. Most of them live in Indiana. We have 2 that actually live in Utah. So as far as another really big role that I play in my community is I'm a community leader. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. I own an agency called Outward Bound Support Services, and we are a Medicaid waiver program. So we work with individuals on the Medicaid waiver that receive services to assist them with living successfully at home or in the community. And that is probably one of the biggest roles. That is also one of the main reasons why I decided to run. And we can talk about some of that down the road here. But other things, I also am involved in my community. Was appointed by Governor Holcomb to what is called INSIL. It's the Independent Living Council, to help Hoosiers with disabilities. And I've just started with that, and it's a lot of learning, but it's really a great honor. Yeah, it's a great honor. Before that, I was the president of the Indiana Association of Behavior Consultants, and I did that for 1 term, and then I was reelected, and I actually stepped down just a couple of months ago for some reasons, and one of the biggest reasons was to really be able to focus full time on campaigning.
So did you grow up in Indiana?
I did not, but I grew up everywhere else. I've lived in Indiana for over 20 years, but my dad was a college basketball coach. So he coached a lot of junior colleges, a lot of Christian schools. And so we moved around a lot. And so I probably have lived in nearly 20 states in my life. My favorite was living in the Midwest. I've lived in numerous Midwestern states. I've lived in northern states. I've lived out west, and I love the Midwest. So when I had an opportunity to come back here 20 something years ago, I came, and I really love it.
I love it. And do you think all that moving around, because like you're almost like an Army brat, but your dad was a coach and not an Army brat. But do you think all those different experiences help shape your view of the world?
Well, yeah, of course. Our childhood experiences definitely shape our view of the world and how we respond to the world. And for me, honestly, as an adult, I see it as a positive experience and how it really did help shape who I am and what I do and what I believe now. But as a child, it was really difficult.
Right.
So the longest I lived anywhere was 4 years. And that was pretty much during my middle school years. And that was in a small rural town in southern Illinois. Other than that, we probably moved almost every year or two. And I went to 5 different high schools. Something a lot of people don't know about me is I became pregnant with my first child at 16.
Wow.
Dana, this just keeps getting more and more. So
listen, hey, the second time around. Come on now.
I had my son when I was 17, and then I had 3 daughters. So I had 4 kids by the time I was 24.
Wow.
I decided to go back to school and kept working it and working it and working it, and actually am now a master's level board certified behavior analyst, co-founder of my company. I'm the CEO as well. And none of this came easy. And one of the things that I really appreciate Joe bringing up, as far as I think that Republicans often look at social programs, he hit the nail on the head. I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for Democrats and the programs that we support. I have used many of those by necessity in my life. I've used Medicaid. I've used WIC, which has grown that women and infants and children, it provides supplemental nutrition, and they offer way more than they did when I was, having children many years ago. I mean, when I got divorced a little over a decade ago, I was broke. I didn't have a dime to my name and was not working. So I was able to use assistance to pay my electric bill. I've used job training assistance. Back in the 90s, I had the JTPTA program. So my first job, after I had a couple of kids, I was a security officer, and a program paid for that. So college as well, I was able to use student loans, which I appreciate that they're talking a lot about forgiveness because it is expensive. I mean, when I got my loans, though, they were very low interest rate. They're not that anymore. And I actually was able to pay them off during COVID, but they were high, and I hadn't paid many years because I have 4 kids. So I was definitely broke for most of my life. So in a nutshell, that's kind of who I am and the kind of things that help to shape me. And so I think that just makes me a more empathetic candidate because I've been where a lot of people have been. I've had a lot of experiences, not just growing up, but as an adult as well.
Yeah, I know. I imagine someone who has a business that takes cares for people. The FSSA debacle probably has gotten under your skin. Talk about it a little bit. I mean,
a little bit.
Yeah, come on, let's go.
That is the main reason why I decided to run, is Medicaid. So I had actually intended to run for this position in 2026. I really wanted to take the time to work it really hard, to really develop good trusting relationships with the communities within my district, which I am working on now. I was just kind of hoping to have, I'd planned to have more time to do that. But Medicaid has $1 billion shortfall. And the way that they're dealing with that is to cut services to the most vulnerable Hoosiers that we have, to people that are very medically fragile. And these families are so resilient and are such fighters that I think they spent almost every day. People traveled from all over the state to come and to be at the Capitol, and how Republicans, continued to not support them and their needs and had to see these faces every single day it just baffles me. So that is one of the main reasons why I've decided to run. That has to do with my life personally, with my the work that I do. I have a sibling with a disability, which is unexpectedly how I ended up doing the work that I do. I have a granddaughter that was born in December that has Down syndrome. So she would have, had there not been this big issue with Medicaid, she probably would be able to get services. And right now she's on a wait list for 1.5 years and just had heart surgery. She had heart surgery on Friday at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. And she's doing really well. But she is just, she's just one of many Hoosiers that are being affected, not just people with disabilities, but our aging population, which is a huge population.
Yes,
and that's going to continue to grow. So,
those boomers just keep hanging on, bro. And I'm not mad that they hanging on, but it's like, Whew. Boomers, but you know what? The boomer generation, they are the ones that are like, they're doing all the, I'm not going to call them experiments, the trials on. The trials, like, you can pretty much replace everything.
Oh yeah, every body part, like every joint
Yes.
and all that. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's
Because they keep
yeah.
hanging
Well,
on.
hopefully it'll be easier by the time I need new knees and all that stuff. So
You know, and what is so bad about the FSSA debacle, and Joe, feel free to jump in on this discussion, is that we have a surplus of $3 billion. I mean, it would be one thing if like we were hurting and that our budget was just barely being balanced, but we have a surplus of $3 billion. We could really give them, FSSA, $1 billion, right? But they would rather not provide the care to these families than to actually do the right thing. I mean, my gosh, you know, we already have a shortage of providers.
I mean, if you had Karen Whitney on your show not too long ago as well, and you know, she's going against Jeff Thompson, and I like staying in my lane, but this one I did find very interesting. We can talk
about this. We can talk because you know, see, think about it. Your family is probably impacted by this in one way or another.
We use the waiver. I mean, that's how we get a lot of the therapies that we need. You know, I have insurance to retiring to the military, but it doesn't cover a lot of things. And that waiver really kicks in. We use it a lot for our children, especially with behaviorists and things of that nature. But when they went back and they were discussing this, you know, I was reading the transcript because it's just, remember, it's just an accounting error. It's just. It's not just. You're saying that it's that, you know, it's okay. You know, it wasn't done in malice. Well, then either you're incompetent or it's malice. You got to pick one. So either you're not good at your job or you're not good at your job. And I think that it's you have to pick one or the other. And it's sad. That's the level that it's gotten to, that they're just like, well, nothing we can do about it. Sorry. And they will. And we know folks that are being affected by this, and there's nothing you can do because they just have a callous heart about it.
Yeah.
It has been like that. I have worked in this field for over 20 years in Indiana with the Medicaid waiver program. Now, there's the medically fragile waivers and aging waivers, which are the ones that are going through a lot of changes now. But the waivers I work with, the developmental disability waivers, I've been working with that for over 20 years. And I have seen numerous times where the state has just come in and just, this is how it is, you know, this is how it's going to be. And that's another reason why I want to get to the State House, because I do have a unique experience as a sibling, as a grandparent, as a business person. I'm a board certified behavior analyst as well. Wow. I'm a social worker. I have a bachelor's in social work and a master's in special education, and then additional schooling. I like to be busy. That comes from all that growing up trauma that we haven't talked a little bit about. So yeah, I had to learn to do things on my own as I was moving. So that's just really where my passion comes in, helping people. But it's like, you know, families like Joe that are really, even the waivers, they don't give a lot. You know, even if you have a waiver, you can't find staff. And that's another one of my reasons for wanting to run, because not only is it people with disabilities, but again, it's the aging population. And the staff are not paid enough. There's no kind of like, the state has given increases multiple times, but they don't say, hey, you across the board, you have to pay a minimum of $20 an hour or whatever to the staff. That would be helpful. There is such a need, and it's just going to get worse. And we've known this crisis has been coming for many, many years, and it's not just Indiana, it's across the state. So,
yeah. You know, the two of you, both of you are running in very red areas. I mean, Joe, you talked about, like me, you got the pants beat off of you when you ran. Your district, Jennifer, is very tough. But you know what? We can't pretend like we can't ignore folks in the area because we think that they're not going to vote for us. Talk about what kind of conversations you guys are having in these communities as you show up as Democrats. Joe, go ahead.
It's tough because you sit back and you work hard. And I know where I live here, you know, I live around Avon in the Washington Township area, and it's getting more diverse, and you can see it and you can feel it. But it's the western part of the county that kind of drags it down, because, you know, you can look at your numbers and say, like, man, I won this township and I won over here and I'm doing great here. and then you go to these other parts and it's just not the same. And for me, it's just putting in the hard work. When I campaigned 4 years ago, and I'm planning on doing it again this year, I had a little show that I would do all the time called Jam with Joe, and I play a little guitar song and I make these funny videos because I enjoy campaigning like that. I enjoy the creative aspect and just doing something so different. And I spent 4 years ago, I spent almost every video teaching people, this is what a commissioner does when I ran for it. And this year it's going to be talking about the county council and what they do and why they're different from, say, town councils. But the biggest thing I do when you walk around and you're meeting voters, the hardest part is when you hit that vote and they're like, are you Republican or Democrat? And you just kind of look at them, it's like, if you're a Republican, why don't you know your candidates?
I'm still in that.
And it's like, you give your cards and they're like, here's my business card. When they come around and give me calls, I know they showed up because they're not going to. They will literally just blindly vote for people. And at some point you have to break it down to them and sit back and say, I'm here now. I'm here to listen and I want to talk to you. But when they do show up, let me know. I'd like to know that. Because at least maybe they'd give a little bit of effort. Because when I ran, 4 years ago, I had Republicans putting my sign on their yard to the point where the county party chair asked them to remove my sign. Because they said, you can't do that, you're part of the party. And because they saw that those people care and pay attention, they saw that I was working. So it's very difficult, but sometimes you just got to call a spade a spade.
I mean, you just gave a nugget right there. You're a Republican and you don't know who your candidate is. I'm stealing that. Y'all should all steal it. Everybody should take it. And when you go knock on doors and they ask if you're a Republican or a Democrat and you say, if you're a Republican, how come you don't know your candidate? I love it. Jennifer, what's it like for you and what kind of conversations are you having out there?
Well, it's kind of different in Clark County and Scott County. So I live in Clark County and I've been here for about 7 years and I'm pretty involved in my community, involved with other social service agencies, also involved with our Chamber of Commerce. So there's a lot of elected officials that I see, people that are involved in politics on both sides of the aisles. And I feel like a lot of us are very friendly. We work together. We talk about projects. And honestly, nobody knows what you're doing when you're voting. So it's really like building those relationships. Yeah. I know every race that I've been in, or when I've talked with people, are like, I know Republicans are going to vote for me. And that is probably true. But we have an even better opportunity here in Clark County because there's a lot of things going on politically with the Republican Party that we've had a lot of crime happen from previous elected official. One of our previous sheriffs has him through a nonprofit that he also owned, which is the ambulance service, had stolen $4 or $5 million. The taxpayers of Clark County actually paid for his oldest daughter's college, all 4 years of her schooling.
What?
So she got, it's just crazy. You got to look it up. But so that is the opportunity that I took. But, these are, unlike some party members that have, known about this for years, even before I came here, just some of the problems with the Republican Party, we joke about it and stuff, and we make, we should do a 60 days in kind of thing because the sheriff was on that show. But I feel compassion, honestly, for a lot of the Republican friends that I have, not just with this, but, being a Republican, being a Democrat, being so many other things, being LGBTQ, these are part of our identity. Yeah. And when those things change, or, all of our parties have gone through changes, we've all had bad leaders. And, it's not just as easy as saying, I'm not going to be a Republican anymore. For a lot of these people, especially in rural communities, this is their life. This is their family. This is generations and generations of how they live. And that is hard and that is confusing. And and that's not how everybody is. I mean, there's people that are like, yeah, Trump. And, that's
the Orange Menace. The Orange Menace. We don't ever say the T word. It's the Orange Menace. The felon. We can call him the felon.
So I'm pretty compassionate about that. And I have good conversations with people in Clark County. And then because I did have a primary, Scott County is a huge part of my district, and I was able to spend a lot of time there, and I've just really gotten to know people, and they have been overwhelmingly supportive, open, with, very accepting of me, because not only am I running as a candidate, I am running because of who I am, what I do, and where I live. So I take those things with me, and I'm an advocate for people with disabilities, and children, and healthcare and education. So anywhere that I can connect resources and people, I do. And I've been doing that for many years. So I think that's something that I bring to table. But that's something that also helps me in campaigning and getting to know more people and really educating myself on the different communities and what their needs are, because Scott County is a lot different than Clark County. They're several years behind Clark County. They have a lot of other needs. They actually rate the lowest in the state of Indiana in terms of childhood health outcomes. But despite that, they have a lot of support and a lot of resources, and they have a lot of Democrats in office, which I love because it's just kind of a different atmosphere. But they do have, a lot of other issues as well with their county council and some things with their school district too. But I've been told many times that from voters there, they love that I'm there, that they see me, that I'm an active part of the community, that I am there, I am working, I am, trying to help them deal with some of the things that they're dealing with. And on top of that, the concern for that community and many other ones are the grants that are drying up from COVID grants. Some of those things are drying up. So that also is an opportunity to try to find out more about what the needs are. So hopefully if I go to the State House, I can make sure that I'm representing all the communities and fighting for them.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And one of the things you said was that you built relationships before you started to run. I wish I had known that when I ran in 2016, that you should go and build the relationships, because we should be building relationships before we ask them for anything, right? We should be, we should be going in and saying, what can I do for you, before you go in and say, will you donate to me? Will you, vote for me? And it's hard work. A lot of people don't want to do that long game, that hard work of, okay, I want to be a leader in the community, not just an elected leader. I want to be a leader in the community, and I'm just going to go and do stuff to be, valued. And then by the time you are ready to run for office, all you got to do is show up, because they've seen you. They know you. Candidates
don't get that, though. I mean, I see so many candidates that it's just this social thing and that social thing for a photo op. And there are a lot of good Democrats in the state that's who they are. That's what they do on the day to day. But you're right, as far as like asking for money. And that is one of my hard things, because I see myself as somebody who gives to other people. I do that. I make a habit of that. I give a certain percentage of my company back to the community, different groups. You can find a lot of that on my website. There's a whole list, which I haven't added to in a while, of places. And it could be as simple as like buying books for the local library about people with disabilities. We have a junior NAACP in Jeffersonville. They're getting ready to have an event. And so I did a sponsorship with that. So it's kind of been it's a mind change that I'm trying to do, and asking people to invest in my campaign. When before it's like, how do I ask people for money? But then I realized it's like asking them to invest in me, because I'm trying to invest myself. For our community to help better them. But
and I love that. Indiana's own Dana Black turned left. I am talking to candidates Joe Walsh, running for Hendricks County Council at large, and Jennifer David, who is running for House District 66. And look, she just said, invest in the community. Click the donate link. There's an Act Blue donate link right there. $5, $10, it does not matter. In fact, become a recurring donor. Become a recurring donor, a monthly recurring donor, but click the link and donate to these candidates, because it takes money to run a campaign. It takes money to run for office. And you just heard these folks have families and jobs. So anything that you can spare, because sometimes it's just them buying water for their volunteers who are knocking doors in the heat. It's literally could be just things like that. Let's get down cracking with the nitty gritty and the policies. Let's talk about the policies. Joe, tell the people why you running for office.
Well, I will say I'm probably running for the most boring office there is. I don't know if it gets much more boring than what I'm running for, but it's important. Because at the county level, everyone looks at the commissioners. They're the ones that make the decisions. They make the ordinance. But it all stems back to what the county council does for the budget. They can't do it. There's no money there. And so the allocation that comes from the state is done by that. And for me, I wanted to run because I want to be a part of that. I want to have a voice at the table. When I look at the county council currently, it's built by this, if you can just fill in any same type of person, they're all the same. Some people, this is like their second or third elected position. This is like a retirement for them for fun that they do on the side. Other people, it's I live in this community my entire life, and I've been doing this for years, and this is what they do. Again, that's how they feel they serve. But when I look at the vast majority of residents of Hendricks County, they're like me. They moved here, they chose here for either the schools or the atmosphere or the community, whatever it is. But no one that looks like us is on that council. So it'd be nice to have that equal representation on there. For me, the top one is, it needs to be transparent. And I know, we had mentioned at a previous time that there is a new ordinance that comes in that says next year they have to have cameras put in there. But it goes beyond that too. I mean, my question is, why does it take a state law to require that? Why couldn't you have done that on your own when every municipality in the region does it? Why do you have to have a county council meeting at 9 a.m. on the first Tuesday of the month? I mean, I work, if elected, I can go to those, but otherwise I have to take PTO.
Right.
I have to take time off, and then you can't watch it. You can't see anything. And a great example is with the county commissioners, is that recently they sat back and they it kind of ties into Duke earlier, but they passed an ordinance where you can't have any more commercial wind farms. They will not allow it. They will not zone for it. And when asked, is there a way that we can work around this? Dennis Dawes said clearly, well, they can ask all they want to. We just won't zone for it. They don't want it. And you're sitting back looking at this, like the vast majority of your residents that are paying the bill are not, they are wanting to maintain farmland. And there's nothing wrong with having agriculture, but your county is growing in a different direction. You need to look towards the future, and they refuse to do that. So, there needs to be that. For me, I want to be a part of it and work in it. I want to have a different voice on the council that asks the 5 whys. Just keep asking why. Why are we doing this? Why are we approving it? Why is it that much? Why is it this? Why are we not challenging the commissioners instead of just being a blank check? But ultimately, this comes down to the biggest one of the three is making local government work for you. It's, I live in a very unique situation. I can look out the window out here. I live in Avon, but it's not Avon. I don't live in town. I live in unincorporated Hendricks County. I don't even have an HOA. So all my services are reliant upon the county. We had one decent snow last year. Thank goodness it was just one. But I almost didn't make it out of my neighborhood because they didn't come plow, because I'm the Swiss cheese hole that's stuck in the middle of Avon. I mean, even to the point where if I were to call 911 and say, hey, someone broke into my car, the police would go, Avon would be like, is it an emergency? No. Okay, well, then the sheriff will be out there when they can get there.
Wow.
And I have to rely on the sheriff to come, drive through Avon to come to my house to give me service.
Wow.
And so it's just getting that, bringing some of that support back over here, where there's a lot of us in these neighborhoods that aren't in town, and I feel like we're being forgotten.
And your tax dollars, I mean, you guys are paying for this stuff, and the mismanagement, or I don't know if it's mismanagement or it's not being managed well. I mean,
And all the expensive homes are here. I mean, the housing market here in Hendricks County is not, it's not based in days. It's based in hours. It's you put a house on the market on the weekend, an open house, and then it's just just give me the top 4 bids and I'll look at them. And, to the point where people are offering $50,000 asking with no inspection. And just constantly, we're just seeing year after year our property taxes are going up. And it's not because of, we have 1% tax. It comes down to the fact that they're just taking the money. The money is coming in, more money every year, but yet we're still not getting the services. So there needs to be someone that's willing to step up and say, hey, we live over here too. We need some support.
Absolutely. I love that, because I mean, my goodness, that's what government is supposed to do, right? If they're collecting the dollars, they're supposed to make sure that the citizens are benefiting from the dollars that they collected, because it's our money, right? It's our money. Oh, man, I'm feeling all of that. Jennifer, tell us why you running for office.
Well, I am running for office because of who I am, what I do, and where I live. Again, I'm running for state rep for District 66, which is portions of Clark County, Scott County, and Jefferson County. And so my work is working with people with disabilities. And so that is the primary reason why I decided to run right now is because of the Medicaid deficit. The state has made a $1 billion accounting error and has really cut services to people with disabilities that really, really need them. So I was pretty pissed off about that, honestly, and the way that they're going about doing it and the way that they think that they're going to save money is by not allowing families who have had the opportunity to be the caregiver for their very medically fragile children. They're not going to allow them to do that anymore. And so that is the big cut that they're doing, and they're kind of restructuring that. But the way that the state knows that they can save money is because there's not other staff out there. So there's not staff to work with the medically fragile children. There's not enough staff to work with people with developmental disabilities and autism, and there's not enough staff to work with our aging population, who we talked a little bit about. And so all of those people are competing for jobs and resources and money and Medicaid and Medicare. So I want to be able to be a part of that conversation because I feel like I bring some unique experience to the table.
I love it. And I meant to ask this, and I probably didn't ask it the right way. When you guys are going to be elected, right? I'm claiming it. I'm claiming it in the universe. Y'all are going to win your elections. Tell me the first pieces of legislation when you show up in org day, Jennifer, and you get to turn in your, it's a budget year, so you only get to turn in 5, I think, pieces of legislation. But give me your top 3 or 4 pieces of legislation that you're going to introduce.
So my first one will be trying to figure out something with this mess of Medicaid and the services and the supports it's supposed to be providing. Who's your families? So we talk a lot, and all this talk has been about the medically fragile children, but there's other waivers, the ones that I work with, the ones that are developmental disability waivers. And what people haven't talked about is that last July, there was a lot of pay increases. Some of them very disproportionate to what they should be for some of those services that I think ate up a lot of that budget. So we really need to be balanced so we can make sure that we are supporting all the families that we possibly can. The second, so on top of that, what is extremely important to me, and I have seen this for my 20 plus years working in Indiana, is that I would really like to see a requirement that when students have IEP meetings, so if they have a individual education plan, oftentimes that might be somebody that has typically a developmental disability or some special needs, that they are given, the families given information about the Indiana Medicaid waiver programs, because these are really they're support services, and they're there to help individuals and families to be able to stay at home, which is the safest place for them, and to be able to have services there in their home. And so I meet families that have kids that are 10, 12 years old. They're not able to verbally communicate. They may have very challenging behaviors because they did not have the knowledge to even be able to apply for services. And there's a wait list, a good couple years wait list to get services on any of the waivers. And it actually used to be like 10, 12 years, a couple decades ago. So we've improved, but there isn't anybody to target these families. And that could just really help families out so much. It can help them out emotionally, mentally, physically. Your mental care is just as important as, physical care of your body. It takes such an effect on families. But most importantly, it can give these children the supports and training and therapies that they need so they can get a head start in school, so they can be able to be successful.
I love it. You got some more though. You gave me more earlier.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So sorry. The other one, the other big one is women's reproductive health care. Just healthcare in general. Indiana still lags behind in maternal health care, especially for our Black and brown families. And that's just a shame. A woman should not, go into the hospital and not come out, with her baby. So Indiana has a long way to come with that, but also with, protecting in vitro fertilization and birth control, and also people that, need to be able to make their own choices for their own reproductive health care with their own doctors, with their own families. And it's just a shame that, I didn't think that I would be here almost 52 years old with, I have 3 daughters of my own, and I have 6 granddaughters, and they all have less rights than I do. and
Yeah.
it's 2024. So I definitely would like to work with other Democrats and with Republicans to make some common sense solutions and policies for all Hoosiers. Another couple that kind of go hand in hand to me is mental health. I mean, every community that I go to, mental health is just a priority. A lot of community foundations do community assessments, and that is just a number one thing for them. And unfortunately, my opponent, Zach Payne, who is running for his third term, his number one thing is repealing the red flag laws. That's
What?
literally his number one.
What?
Yes, it is. It's not, and he it's literally his number one priority, at least that he has said. But it may just depend on what the audience is.
Wait, you have blown my mind. We have children being shot in schools. You can't go to a theater. You can't. Greenwood Mall, Noblesville. These shootings have happened in Indiana, and they already got no permit carry, so you don't know who's carrying a gun. You want to remove the red flag laws that would trigger maybe someone shouldn't have a weapon of mass destruction?
Well, on top of that, I mean, my opponent also has a child with a medically fragile child with some needs, and he doesn't even speak out about this whole thing with Medicaid. And that is just, it's a shame. It is just an absolute shame when he has been elected to represent this district, and he also deals with things that other families deal with. They don't have the luxury of being on state insurance and having, their needs, the insurance that people get at that level as being employed is way better than the Medicaid insurance, I'm sure. So, but yeah, so mental health is definitely a big one. And the other thing that has a lot to do with that is domestic violence. With my time campaigning, I really try to get involved with educating myself, attending conferences. I just went to a mental health summit yesterday. It was yesterday. They start running together.
I know, right?
Before that, I went to like Indiana Healthy Families Conference, and I've really learned a lot. There's a lot of supports out there for families. There's a lot for recovery. But there is not a lot for domestic violence, and domestic violence is a lot bigger than people know, or at least that people admit to, because it's such a sensitive subject. And I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and 13 years ago, I mean, I restarted my life.
Wow.
I had, I wasn't working at the time. Fortunately, I lived in an area that had a local shelter. I lived in Morgan County, and there's a shelter out in Martinsville. I didn't go live there, but I was able to use their resources and supports, and it really saved my life. Where I live here in Southern Indiana, we don't have, we can use some of the supports from Louisville, but we don't really have our own support group here, and services and things that can help families that need to get out of bad situations right away. And so I would really like to see a more comprehensive plan throughout the state of Indiana to raise awareness and also to educate people, because friends and family, I had friends that knew that were going on. I had friends that seen bruises. I have friends that feel bad now, years later. But what do you say? What do you say? And what do you say when you're friends, you're a married couple and you're friends with another married couple? How many people are going to be like, hey, what's going on with you and your wife? The social
dynamic of it all. And, and it's scary because, it doesn't matter what type of relationship it is. It can be, I've seen same sex couples be in abusive relationships. I've seen, all demographics. It does not matter. And the fact that we aren't really addressing that as a society the way that we should. Joe, I know you say you stay in your lane, but Jennifer just keeps bringing up really good stuff. And if you have any comments on anything, just because she's bringing up good stuff.
I feel like
I do try to stay in my lane, but she's clearly right. There does need to be at the state level for those who are running. There's a lot of work to be done, and I live in one of the donut counties, and so some of our situations are a little different. But I come from one of the most rural counties. I won't even mention it. That's how rural it is. Out in the middle of nowhere. Nope, I'm not going to tell you. Nope, not going to tell you. But I'm from.
It's only 92. I can probably go down and guess them all.
Um,
Oh gosh,
but
where would it be? I mean, what is the most
I'm
rural?
Franklin County, Indiana.
Oh no, I thought you was gonna say like Ohio or Switzerland County or
No,
something like that.
no, they have their own struggles there, but they struggle along with just getting an ambulance.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Well,
just
that's
it's this whole massive issue they have out there with getting access to healthcare. I mean, I know we're even dealing with some similar situations here locally. My wife and I have both lost our primary care manager because of the legislation the state has passed, and so
Wow.
community has pulled out, and so they're like, we're not going to be servicing the west side at all, and so we're trying to find doctors now, and it's going to take us weeks, if not months, to get in to see them, and so there's all these challenges that are out there. Again, there's challenges here at the local level that are simple things that could, if you would just sit there and have a heart for a minute and really put the effort forth, you could make changes. And I do believe that as much as they want to claim one thing, their heart is callous.
Mm.
And they're just like, well, nothing we can do about it. We don't want to cut into the budget. Nope, we don't want to do that. We love
No,
that
because we got to
credit.
keep that AAA bond
Oh
rating.
man, I mean,
Gotta have that.
I don't know what it does for us, but we got to have it.
Apparently, it's not doing much of anything. For the last 20 years, Indiana has been struggling and going in the wrong direction when it comes to quality of life. Jennifer, didn't you tell me that the suicide rates among young people are going in the
yes.
wrong direction?
So I want to correct myself on that because I looked it up afterwards. It's just that it's the death rate in children. It doesn't necessarily say what contributes it, but in Indiana, it has gone up, unfortunately. And the mental health struggles for kids in Indiana. It was kind of like two different worlds. The mental health summit I went to the other day, and then it was called Indiana School Health Network Conference. So it was that conference was last week, and that was a lot of the health insurance companies like Anthem, can I think of all of them? A Care Source. There's like 3 or 4 or 4 or 5 of them. They are all the contractors with Medicaid. But these couple of conferences that I've gone to, the people that have been speaking, the people that have been charged in the last 20 years are the Republicans. And they are sitting here talking about how terrible things are in our state for mental health, for schools, reading and math. We continue to decline in that. Health status in Scott County. They went down from being the second to the last, I think, to the last county in the state of Indiana in terms of health for the children. So the Republicans have been in the trifecta for at least 20 years,
yes.
I think.
Well, at least in control, for a long while. And we're not going in the right direction. We have a brain drain. We have a poor air quality. I mean, they want to keep burning coal. We have lowest paid teachers. The cost of living is going up, but the salaries have been stagnant. The infant mortality, the maternal mortality rates are ridiculous. I mean, we're at the bottom of every most statistics. Oh, but again, we got that AAA bond rating. See, to me, what good is it that you sitting on a stack of money, but you got a hole in your roof? And you don't want
But it's not in the roof of the people that are making the decisions, and that's the problem.
Oh my God. It's
not their life, it's not their reality. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Then they are not public servants. They are selfish servants. Public servants are people who are supposed to be looking out for the people, like you guys are talking about. Like, Joe, you wouldn't have joined the military if you didn't understand the significance of protecting our democracy and from enemies and da 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 da. There's a service, there's a sacrifice that comes with that, because you could be risking your life. You are a servant. Jennifer, you are out here every day taking care of the most vulnerable people among us, and the amount of patience that takes. You cannot sit up here and tell me you are pro-life, but you are not doing whatever you can to protect the life that's already here and that need the help. And you're sitting on $3 billion and you don't want to help people. You tacky. So y'all gonna make me say some bad words around here. Y'all gonna make me. Man, can y'all believe this? That hour is gone.
Again,
right? Okay, Joe, tell the people where they can find you.
Well, you can find me, and my website's up and running. It's small right now, but I'm working on it. But that donate button is sure on there. I tell you what, if you go to joe4hendricks.com, JOE4hendricks.com, you'll see me on there. working on that all the time. You can also find Joe Walsh for Hendricks County. I always ask people to follow that if you can. That's where I start. Hopefully soon I'll be putting out my Jamming with Joe video. That's always a fun time.
I can't wait to see that.
I know, me too.
I will simply say that last big campaign video I made 4 years ago, there was a person in a dinosaur suit and we were giving out signs. And so that's how fun at the levels we can get.
In a dinosaur suit?
It is,
Which
yeah.
dinosaur?
Yeah, one of those inflatable dinosaur suits. So yeah, I'm always doing something different. It's fun. But you can follow me there again. Any support you can give, especially with Treasure. You got to buy some signs soon. Always trying to buy a union. So if even if any support that people can give, even an attaboy, good job.
I love it. And do you have any events coming up?
I will be at Hendricks County Pride. I volunteer with that every single year. So you'll see me there bouncing back and forth between the Democrat booth and the Pride booth, helping out where I can. May hear me on the mic a little bit here and there as well.
You belong on the mic, bro. I'm feeling a little, self-conscious right now because you got that, that swag on the microphone. I'm feeling a little nervous over here.
Yeah, it's all fake. I'm just making up as I go. I'm just petrified inside. But thank you for the kind words. But I'll be doing that. Hopefully hitting some parades up, maybe doing the fair. Trying to tag along with other candidates that are going around here in Washington Township and with Pope and people like that. Knocking doors and just doing the best I can. And
can people volunteer on your website as well?
They can reach out to me there and find ways if they want to support, and I'll take any help. If you want to knock doors or you want to give a phone call, we can set up the van for you, whatever you're willing to do, even if it's just sitting there and, just tag along with me, I'll take it.
I love it. And I had to be careful because I can sit and listen to your voice for a long time. It really sounds good. You got an amazing voice.
Thank you.
Jennifer, tell the people where they can find you.
Well, you can find me. My website is Jen David, JENN David, and number 4, Hoosiers.com. And also I have a Facebook page, which I try to put most of my stuff up on there. It's Jennifer David for Indiana House of Representatives, District 66. I have some other social media sites, but I don't really know it.
You got people handling that for you.
I'm learning. I'm learning. I do. I actually, my son's partner she's doing my social media. So I'll be seeing her at Juneteenth tomorrow, and we'll be planning the next couple months of stuff. So
I love it. I love it.
A lot of work.
Do you have any other events coming up?
I do. So tomorrow I'll be at Juneteenth in Jeffersonville, and then the next day I will be in Scottsburg. Actually, I'll be in Austin, which kind of borders my district, for a community health fair event. And then Saturday night, my neighborhood's having a rock the block in Charlestown and Heritage Place. That's kind of like a weekly thing. There's always something like that going on. And Southern Indiana is like the festival, fair, parade capital. Like, we always have something going on. So the first 3 weeks of July, I will be at the Clark County Fair, Scott County Fair, Jefferson County Fair, somewhat in that order, every single day. But I have my first fundraiser on June 29th in Charlestown at 359 Market Street, and I am doing a pancake breakfast with another candidate who's actually running for county commissioner.
Love it.
And her name is Laura Williamson, and we've opened it up to other Clark County Democrats if they want to join us as well. So
love it.
We will be flipping pancakes for the first time, and I'm excited to see how that will be.
Guys, you two are a blessing to Indiana. That's the only way that I can say it. You blessed me tonight, and I really do appreciate it. The energy y'all brought, the knowledge and the care that you took to address the needs of your communities, because that's what you all talked about tonight, right? You talked about why you're running and who you are, and I always want that to be done. But each of you have been focused on what are we doing for the people? And I can tell y'all, I owe y'all a lot, because you didn't have to do it, and you did. And I just really appreciate you coming back and talking to the people. And we had some listeners, and that's a great thing. So hopefully we can get some donations. Donate to these guys.
Investments. Invest in my campaign and Joe's.
I love it. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Y'all have a fantastic evening. I don't know if you remember or heard about it or not, but in Washington, I know I normally keep things from border to border. I usually do. But something happened in Washington, and I think that we all need to be really, really aware of. They had a vote on protecting IVF. Now, I understand there's a religious Pentecostal organization that said, oh, no, we're not for IVF, whatever. Religion, they can do what they want to, right? But Republicans voted against, it was for protections for IVF and for contraception. I'm getting it wrong there, but I'll fix that up. Yeah, contraception. So Republicans voted against contraception. They're fighting against IVF, and in many states, they have prevented your ability to obtain whatever reproductive health care that you need. And in some of those states, they also tried to write bills to prevent you from traveling across state lines to get what health care you needed if you couldn't get it in your home state. This is no longer about we the people and doing the will of the people. This is all about control. And this ain't no Janet Jackson control either, right? Where you want to do a funky dance to it. This is about, there are folks in our nation who want to take us back to a time when we had no rights, where we had no, unless you were a white male landowner, because if you didn't even own land, you couldn't get nothing, right? That's what they want to take us back to, because for some reason or another, they believe that was a great time. It was so great, these landowners couldn't even pick their own crops. They were too lazy to. Yeah, I said it. They were so late. These folks out here want to continually strip your ability to make decisions about who you are, where you are, what you want to do, how you want to do it. And that is why it is so important that this November that you show up. This is not hyperbolic. This is real. Look at the votes. Look how they're voting. Look at the bills that they write. Look at the policies they pass. Look at the bills that come to the governor's desk and get signed. This is not hyperbolic. This is real. They're coming for everything. They want you to be impoverished. They want you to be dependent on them. They want you to be dependent on how they can provide whatever it is so they can deny it from you. And once they can deny it from you, then they can control you versus you having the ability to control your own existence. I need y'all to all understand this is what's happening. So please do not be afraid to cast a vote outside of the box that your daddy voted for or whatever. This is the time for you to vote your conscience and vote for your neighbors. Be a people person. Be a person for yourself. Look out for yourself. If we have a bad environment and the oceans are rising, that ain't good for your people. If your daughter is, if I dare say, is sexually assaulted and she can't get the medical care, that is affecting you. So guys, time, talent, or treasure. If you don't have a lot of money, give a candidate your time. Or if you don't have a lot of money, but you can help them navigate social media or create yard signs or whatever it is, give your talent, but also give that treasure so these candidates click the donate button. I forgot to mention that earlier. Click the donate button and help donate to these candidates so they can raise the money to do what they got to do to get the message out. All right, guys, I am going to enjoy my birthday tomorrow. Happy Father's Day. I am a daddy's girl, so enjoy Father's Day weekend, and I will holler at y'all next week. Peace. Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions. Executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by www.bensound.com.